ask you this. Have you ever wondered why we've been lied to about Africa, about its beauty and its rich heritage and its culture? The fact that all of the gold, much of the oil, and all of the major resources like diamonds are on the continent of Africa. Have you ever wondered why we have been lied to? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Be a part of the family. Click that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a video. And be sure to comment. I want to see who you are and get to know you and welcome you to the family. And I can only do that if you subscribe and let me know who you are. Share the video, share it with a friend, share it with somebody who would really enjoy this content and who would really love to get to know me and the content that I bring and be a part of our family. So be sure to share with someone you love or someone you don't love. It don't matter, honey. Just share it as many times as you can. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at SYNOLVE, and head on over and visit my website at synolve.com. Now you can support us by sending a gift to PayPal at SYNOLVE, $SYNOLVE, or you can also support us by becoming a Patreon supporter over on Patreon. So, and joining Patreon is free, and for as little as $1 a month, you can support Black media. You can support the work that I do, and so we can keep this media coming and good content coming to you. Check out our lives, because Milton and I have been doing, have done a live, and we're going to do more lives for Your Voice, Your World. So join us on Facebook in the group Your Voice, Your World. We've got some amazing things planned for you. Hi everyone, this is SYNOLVE. How are you guys doing? I sure hope you're well, that you're finding yourself blessed and prosperous in every area of your life, no matter where you find yourself in the world and throughout the African diaspora. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's so dear and near to my heart, something that's very important to me, and that is why we should learn and know our history, our heritage, our culture, and our connection to Africa and the motherland. I want to discuss why we should be traveling to Africa and why we should reconnect with our heritage that is on the beautiful, rich, amazing continent of Africa, from which our ancestors have come. And so today I want to share this with you, and please join me for this amazing conversation, and I will see you in just a moment, so stay tuned. I'm discussing this today because it is very near and dear to me. As I mentioned, my mom, who passed away, Ramona, she shared with me that when I was getting ready to go to college and I was leaving high school, she shared with me that I should study African studies. And so she shared with me how when she traveled around the world, and one of the things that she learned was her history, her African history. And she said the only way I would learn is to learn those things in college, because there weren't any courses for me in Mississippi to study African studies, or to study African culture, or to study even African American history. And so I have, taken this opportunity as my mom instructed me years ago, and I got a minor in African studies, and it really has blessed me. And I have shared with my children that they should also do the same. And so they are very interested in African culture and African religions. And it's just been really a blessing to myself and to my husband and to our family to be able to sit with our children and talk. And so this will also give you an opportunity to instill values and to instill a richness and a wealthy heritage with your children, and to build their self-esteem as well. My grandmother really, when I think about it, kind of started this journey for me. She told me the story of Anansi, the spider. Do y'all know that story? If not, go look it up. Maybe perhaps we will talk about that story in one of our conversations and our journey together. And so today we're going to talk about why learning about our heritage and why learning about our culture and our ancestry and our history, and why reconnecting and traveling to Africa for those of us who are African American or who live in the African diaspora, why this is so important. Now, why is this important? It's important as Black people that we learn our history and that we reconnect with who we really are. Knowing our own languages from Africa, like Swahili, and knowing our history and the tribes that existed there, the culture, all of that is so important. This is a way to build self-esteem and to really transform Black lives, to really transform Black lives. Our lives matter. And if our lives matter, that means our history matters, our heritage matters, and our ancestry matters. As Black people, it's important, really important, to fill this void that many of us feel, that there is a problem or there's a void, there's something missing, and not knowing truly who we are. And so for many of us, we know that we're descendants of enslaved people, but the problem is we don't know our history beyond that. We don't know the beauty of the rich heritage of Africa, the beauty and wisdom and wealth that exists in Africa, because we have been stripped of our history, stripped of our heritage, and stripped of the knowledge of who we are. So often when we think of Africa, we think of what we've seen in Tarzan movies or what we've seen on TV or in the media, feeding programs from NGOs providing, food to starving people in the Saharan. We've seen all of those things, but we haven't seen beyond the famine, beyond, the difficult things that go on. And difficult things happen in every country. They're happening right now. If you're in the midst of COVID, they happening right now here in the U.S. So it happens everywhere. War happens, things happen. So now we get to really have this opportunity to see and to know the beauty of what is happening on the continent. So as I've said before, there are, so many different faces to Africa, and Africa is absolutely gorgeous and absolutely beautiful. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why we've been lied to about Africa, about its beauty and its rich heritage and its culture? The fact that all of the gold, much of the oil, and all of the major resources like diamonds are on the continent of Africa. Have you ever wondered why we have been lied to? All of the animals that you see, many of the animals that you see when you go to the zoo, they're in your on your home continent. Zebras and elephants, they're there in Africa. And so we are the missing link. We're the missing piece because we haven't been back home to really see the beauty, and we don't know the beauty and richness of Africa. And so now it's time to go back home and to have this opportunity to learn and to know about our continent. And so while others go to Africa, others go to Africa all the time to invest, and many of us are just now slowly waking up from our slumber, and we are trying to get away from this misinformation that we have been told. We've been so asleep and so deep in this misinformation, stupor of misinformation, that we really have not even, some of us wanted to go back home or even had an idea to go back home. But you know, it's time to go back. It's time to invest in Africa. It's time to invest in ourselves. And so the problem is that as long as we believe that we began in slavery, that our ancestors began only, their story only began with slavery, then it becomes problematic, because it's simply not true. Our story, the ancestor story, predates slavery, and our history and ancestry begins in Africa. And the only way to know that, the only way to really know who we are, is to experience it for ourselves and to visit the continent for ourselves, so that we can truly taste the food, the culture, the wealth, the beauty, the riches, the glory, if you will, of the continent of Africa, from which we have come and from which our DNA and our ancestry was thriving on the continent. And so we'll never really and truly know who we are. We'll never really know who the fullness of who we are, and know that we are a great people. We're not a minority. We're actually a majority throughout the world as African people, part of the African diaspora. We're children of Africa rather than children of enslaved people from America only. Our ancestors were from Africa. Our DNA put us squarely back on the African continent. And whether there were explorers that explored from Africa all the way to America, still our DNA, our ancestry still pulls us back to Africa. And it's time, if other people can go and visit the continent, then certainly we can go and we can visit the continent as well. And it is time that we know who we are, that we understand our legacy that was stolen for us. And we would already know this legacy and this history and this heritage, and already have a connection. Even as explorers, we would have this connection to the motherland had we not been stolen, or had we not had to endure the racism and the oppression and the suffering of slavery. But our history is so much bigger than slavery. Our heritage is so much richer than slavery. But as long as people are able to keep you and I focused on slavery only, then it really entangles and really diminishes our self-esteem and diminishes the wealth of who we are, if we can never tap into this legacy. And I'm telling you, the enemy doesn't want you to know who you are. The enemy doesn't want you to truly tap in to the beauty and wealth that is within you, that lies within your DNA and within your ancestry. And so that's why it's so important to know your history, to understand your heritage, to reconnect with your ancestors, to realize the beauty and amazingness, yes, of your ancestors and who they are, so that you can begin to understand who you are. We suffer in America as Black Americans, African Americans, often from this challenge of knowing who we are, because we celebrate Black history. We celebrate all of these other, events that have happened, but they're all centered around our struggle here in America. And so this day, it is time for us to truly rise up and take our place on the world stage, to understand who we are in the world as part of the African diaspora, as part of the children of Africa, so that we will know who we are without a shadow of a doubt. And from this point forward, no one would ever be able to hold slavery or oppression over us again, because it's just a blip in our long, amazing, beautiful history. We are much more than slavery. We are much more than our history here in the UK or America, where I am, or throughout the diaspora, African diaspora, wherever it is, Caribbean, wherever it is that you might be. Our history is more. Our history is deeper. And our wealth and our riches are much greater than only the history or the stories or the words that we have been told. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for all of your support and for all that you do. I hope you really appreciate my perspective and my being very open and vulnerable with you to share my ideas about why we should be studying our African history and learning about our heritage and our culture that predates slavery and reaches all the way back to Africa, and why traveling to the continent is so very important. It's important for us to see. It's important for us to know. It's important for us to hear, beyond what we have been told, beyond what we have been sort of misled and redirected all of our resources and our hopes and our dreams away from the African continent and African people. And much of our love and joy for Africa has been suppressed over the years. And so today we can finally take our rightful place in the world, on the world stage, to be who we are and to really honor ourselves and honor our ancestors who came from Africa and who did amazing, wonderful things before slavery and after as well. And so we are the ancestors' dream. And so one of those dreams was always to go back home, was always to go back to Africa. And now we can do that. And as we do, we take a piece of the ancestors back home with us. Thank you again so much for joining me. I'd love to hear your comments below. Please share with me why you think it is so important. For those of you who've been traveling or reconnecting with Africa, or traveling or relocating, please share with me why for you this has been so important, and why you have taken, if you've taken African study courses, please share that with me. I'd love to hear it. If you're traveling to Africa to visit or to relocate, I'd love to know why. Please share that with me, and let's continue this conversation, and let's keep this going so that we can build our self-esteem. And so with our words and with our lives and with our deeds, we make it known that Black lives, that African lives, that our lives and our history matter. I love you so much. And I thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Make sure you know how blessed you are, how beautiful you are, how amazing you are. You know why? Because you really are. I love you guys. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.